Maharajji have any spiritual status that you know
Maharajji has what?
Does he have any spiritual status?
But how am I to know? Do I have any spiritual status to know who he is? Yeah.
I mean, had Baba, what you're probably saying is, did Baba say anything?
No.
I mean, he wasn't even born.
He was a kid at the time. He was studying with his wife, Dara's wife.
Ask Amrit.
You should ask Amrit about
Yeah,
it.
you want to find out about
Nice, happy, yeah, you will get a great laugh out of the story, you know.
Amrit slapped him, didn't she?
Yeah.
I was just curious about these people that attract.
Because he was rather, he was taking advantage and all that. Something had happened and Amrit had to slap him. So, their fields, their property is close by to her ancestors' properties. Yeah. And there's always a feud, you know, there. And all sorts of things are happening. It's past.
Babu, remember Babu? The Sikh that came with me, the real big Sikh. Do you remember in '74?
Yeah.
He played Narrow Wolf
Yeah.
on a play at Baba's birthday.
Yeah.
Big Babu. He used to be friends with Maharaji when he was a kid.
Dehradun.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
remember him telling you?
No, he didn't tell me. I
Yeah.
heard from you.
Yeah, he told, well, we talked about that a bit. It was very hard because of what he talked about as a child and what, not as a child, but even as a teenager, and visiting with Maharaj, he just made me see it pretty foolishly, that a lot of people would follow him.
Well, it's all, everything is in proper shape, you know,
Sure.
Patty.
Sure.
It's all pre-planned and everything. Unless and until we have the experience of darkness, we won't be able to know what light is. It's like that. We have to go through all these childish pranks, you see. We have to. At the time when a child is learning in kindergarten or any Montessori school there, it's all pranks, but it has to be, so it will develop itself, give experience and all that, and learn and grow. Same thing we are in Montessori school, you see, we want to, these are our pranks, we are playing here, there and all that sort of thing. He allows a free hand for us all. Don't you all, do you all control the children then? On the contrary, the teachers learn from the children while they are playing, you see. Montessori school is to teach the children, not the children, but the teachers. It is said so. So likewise, what happens is that we learn from them, and we learn from ourselves, and we begin to grow through our experiences with such people. But apart from all these things, we are not concerned with what they do and how they act and live and all that. That's their concern. We are not concerned with that. But what I am saying is, it's wonderful to see how each heart is drawn closer and closer and yet closer to Him, you see. Beautiful ways.
So what was Baba's favorite scent?
Favorite what?
Scent.
Scent?
Yes.
What scent?
Perfume or flower.
Perfume was, rose.
You like rose?
Yeah, he liked rose.
What else? Just plainly rose?
No, the thing is that any perfume would be all right for him. So, after tea now.
Oh, tea?
Bell, yeah, this is tea bell. You know, we are within the bounds of limitations while we come here to learn of the one who is unlimited. So you have to go for tea at tea time, you have to go for lunch. To my mind, while we were drinking tea, you know, earlier you were talking about children going to school, you know, and there, you know, the Catholic element, you know. Well, they don't understand about Baba, and naturally there is a conflict created in the minds of the young ones and all that sort of thing. So among the older generations also it's the same thing among themselves also. Although they believe in the Lord, they believe in Jesus the Christ and His words and all that, but what they think that, well, they take ascension to be here. It's your seat here. Always remember that, as long as you're here. No, what I was telling Howard about it was that a thought came to me while I was drinking tea on the subject of ascension and all that. Even we were discussing lately about the effect of children hearing from children. Contradictory statements you see about Baba and about Jesus and all that sort of thing. It's a confusion created in little ones. But what about the older ones? There is confusion also in the older ones also. Take the case of ascension that is being spoken out,
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Ascension?
Ascending into the seventh heaven and all that sort of thing.
Jesus'
Jesus is ascension.
I see.
Ascension, you know that ascension? You have heard it.
Yes.
So, what the great ones have said about ascension is, it's not the ascension you see like a man trying to put his foot on the moon. It's ascending to the moon, you see. It's not that. The great one has said that ascension is sugarcane ascending to sugar. You follow? It's all said in parables, Do you follow this? Ascension of sugarcane is reaching the state of sugar.
The refinement or the...
Yeah, that is ascension. That is really ascension, you see. So that's how it is. So but the conflict is that you believe in ascension, you don't believe in ascension, this and that and so forth. The conflict is also amongst the elders, among themselves. Did you follow this, the ascension, as somebody has said?
I wasn't, I just arrived. I'm sorry.
She just descended on us.
There is this belief amongst the Catholics about Jesus' ascension. And there is a lot of debate on this point, which is considered to be one of the fundamentals, you see, of Catholicism, the ascension of the Lord. What he meant was, it's not like a man from earth stepping onto the surface of the moon. It's not ascension in that respect, you see. It means from the earth you ascend to the moon, you see. It's not that. The Great One has said the ascension is equivalent to sugar cane ascending into the state of sugar.
Could you say a transition?
Transition, yeah.
Yes.
To the sublime, to the ultimate. Nahi, chartina rupma nahi. The intrinsic, what it is in it, you see, the essence, becoming the essence. What is the essence of sugar cane? Sugar.
So the essence of all of us is divine love.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it is. That's
They
how
always
it is.
portray it as
Yeah,
as
as
going
flying
up
into
into
the
heaven.
air and all that sort of
Going
in
into
heaven.
heaven.
Yeah, it's not like that a man going in air and stepping on the moon. Then you might call the man has also ascended. It's not that. That's what it is said.
The concept of the second coming of Christ, how does that relate to what Baba has said about himself?
You see, we always speak in terms of his second coming. Time and again, he said that I'll come again. Now we have on our record, spiritual history said that it is mentioned about his coming back, coming again. So it is always said in terms of his second coming. Whether it is the third or the millionth coming, it will always remain as the second coming. Baba himself said that I'll come again. So Baba, when we talk in terms of Meher Baba lovers, talking in terms of Meher Baba says, Baba will come, his second coming will be after 700 years, you see. That's how it is. So it is not that second in figuratively or in numerical term it is second, but it is the next advent. It's the
And
next
funny, they
advent.
always really kind of restrict it to the literal meaning
Yeah.
of his coming again. Actually, this is the third time.
Not
I
third
mean,
time,
third
a
time
millionth
Christ-
time.
Third time that Jesus
Yeah.
has come, you might say.
It's my belief that most Christians think that what Jesus was talking about, a second coming, is not a physical appearance, but something that will happen universally, according to the little bit that's left in the Bible.
No, it is him coming again and again in our midst, in human form. How will he make that unapproachable approachable, the inconceivable fact, reality of his being approachable to us, conceivable to us, unless and until he comes down in our midst, you see. And when he comes down in our midst, he has to wear a shroud over himself, a mask of himself, over himself. And that mask is nothing but the male human form. Reality descending into the realms of illusion, how is it possible that you will reconcile the fact of reality descending into illusion? How will you reconcile it? Is it ever possible for reality to descend into illusion? Will illusion be illusion? It will be shattered. Take the case of, how will you expect light to descend into darkness? It will shatter darkness. But his purpose of descent is not to shatter darkness. His purpose is not to shatter illusion, but to awaken us to the fact of we being in illusion. So he needs illusion, and at the same time he needs to descend in our midst. So the only way to do is to camouflage reality, and that camouflage is done by the 5 perfect masters of the time, who precipitate the advent by cloaking him in a male human form.
There was a question that once that the avatar, being infinite consciousness, is always conscious of everyone. But at the moment or time when the 5 perfect masters bring him down, is he still conscious of everyone?
Yeah, he is still conscious of everyone.
But from our point of view, as that person coming down, from our point of viewing him, he isn't conscious.
Yeah, he isn't. Yeah, he isn't. He isn't conscious. He is not omnipotent. He is not omniscient. You see, that's how it is. He is not omnipresent. If you were to, when he was in his physical form, if you were to want to contact him, so naturally you will think of Ahmednagar. But he is omnipresent. Why do you think of him in Ahmednagar, that you will have to go to Ahmednagar to be with Baba, to contact him and all that? He is omnipresent. But what happens is that it is impossible for us to conceive his divine attributes. So in order that which cannot be conceived, to be made conceivable, he takes this human form. These limitations are absolutely necessary for us to tangibly experience his divine love in his loving us, when he takes the form. His presence, we call it, he is present. His presence is there. He is all-pervading, his presence. How is it possible? So he makes it tangible by being in our midst. So that's how we know that he is. Yeah, he is, naturally.
Why is it that, I wonder if Baba ever explained this, but why is it that some Baba lovers hear of him and experience his love and connection at some time, and then many years later others do? Okay? Now, why is it different for each of us? Why shouldn't it all happen at the same time?
We can't have it all at the same time, you see, because of our, as we were discussing this morning, that it is so preordained, it is predetermined, our time to play this game is such. The whole creation is nothing but his own game, revealing himself as he is through his own game of experiencing his, what do you call, different states, because he wants to know who he is. He knows who he is at one and the same time, when infinite consciousness made him know that he is infinite. But infinite unconsciousness, when it unfolded, gradually he wants to know. The infinite unconsciousness has to evolve gradually into knowing his infinite state. So his infinite state is such that he has to be Eruch, he has to be Jeff, he has to be Howard, he has to be this. And it is so set that at different periods, different times, their game is over, and then they realize. They begin to love, and then they realize. But we use the word they. Really speaking, it is he who suffers through us, wanting to become as he really is. So there is no such thing as, besides him there is none. So then he has created this game to gain experience, varied experiences of his infinitude. And that's how you find all this in creation, giving various impressions and experiences. And that's, he goes through these things. And once in you, he has gained the ultimate experience, after having all other experiences, then he realizes himself, his own self as he really is, through you, through gaining experience of what Jeff is like, what is it, and so forth. Through unconsciousness having developed gradually into infinite consciousness. So naturally it goes on and on and on and on, keeping the process of infinite unconsciousness evolving into infinite consciousness. So that's why you get these time factors, these different regions, different people, different communities, different castes, and all that is because of infinite consciousness, infinite unconsciousness evolving into infinite consciousness. Suppose if at one stroke he comes in our midst to awaken us, take that question. Okay. He comes in our midst to awaken us. He wants to sustain and maintain illusion, because he wants to use it as an example. This is illusion. I want you to get yourself awakened to the fact that this is illusion. You are seeing a dream, but he must have illusion, isn't it? To point out to us, not towards him, to him, to us. So he wants us to be aroused out of illusion, so he needs illusion. So he sustains and maintains illusion. Okay. Now suppose with a divine stroke of his, when he gets a pleasure. His pleasure we cannot fathom his pleasure, we cannot fathom his whim. Suppose if he were to get his divine whim, and all at once, if he were to awaken all in creation at one and the same time, what will be the situation?
Creation won't exist anymore.
Finish. Yeah. So, where is the game? Where is the game of experiencing? Where is the game of him wanting to experience? So that is all shattered. So what happens is, in gradual process, he allows himself to experience these variegated forms, variegated impressions that he has himself developed in the process of infinite unconsciousness evolving into infinite consciousness. So he experiences. And one day it so happened that the same question I put to, in our usual chit-chat, you see, with Harry Kenmore. I don't know whether you heard the name.
Yeah.
You heard?
I spent a lot of time with
him. You spend a lot of time with him. That's good. So he used to come here. He visited us 13 times. It means Baba 13 times.
Yes, he told us all about it.
Yeah. So he was here on one of his trips. I said, Harry, what's this day and night we have been living with him and all that? Now that he has come, why does he not get a whim, you see, that all of a sudden he gives not realization to all. I didn't go to that extent to nullify the creation, but I simply said that, well, why does he not give at least the recognition that some of us have of him to all in the world, all human beings at least? I says, don't talk about it. Then where will be the scope for us to have him? If the whole human creation were to have the cognizance of who he is, then what will happen? He will be torn into shreds, you see. All of a sudden, all would want to have him, you see. Yeah, through love. Love is such, you see. Wouldn't spare him. Even he wouldn't be spared because of the cognizance of love that he gives in us, all at once. So it is good to be, don't speak of it, he says, otherwise we will be deprived of the pleasure, you know. Yeah, see this, he says, we are experiencing that already. On 31st of January, when people come here for Amar Tithi, we are deprived of his presence, almost you may call it, with the crowd, you see. We can't even approach his tomb, let alone him, you see.
The last time when I came, it took about 3.5 hours to climb up the hill.
Right to climb up the hill. Yeah.
In other words, we really shouldn't spread Baba's message.
Yeah.
Keep it.
Now, I've got a good one about spreading Baba's message.
Well, I wanted to say something. I think I've thought about this, why doesn't he, why did he wait that long for this person and longer for that one? And sometimes I feel Baba chooses a moment that's really special in a person's life, not just kind of randomly let somebody know, but when they're at a dark time in their life, or or something like that, when it'll mean something, might be something memorable and deep, he'll let them know. Just
Yeah, that's true.
in a
From
special way.
our point of view, it is true.
So
but
it
from
becomes-
his point of view, it is not true. It is not just that. It's a part of the truth. You see, the truth is that neither you are, nor I am, nor he is, nor anybody except him. Only when he himself gets fed up with his game in you, then it's finished. Then you are no more there, you see.
Yeah.
Till such time he is not fed up of the game that is playing in you, you stand no chance of realizing your true self.
And he is
It
fond
is
of
he is the
I
one who
wasn't
realizes.
I wasn't talking about the moment of realization. I was just talking about his contact, his letting us know in this lifetime that he is.
So that also is there. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. When he wants it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
When
thinking
then in his own words, when he wants to wind up his game in you, then he lets you know about it. Then you begin to long, you see. Then you come to him and you come and all that. You don't come to gain from him anything. You come, remember that. We are misled by what do you call, feeling or having that notion that we'll gain something, we'll become good, we'll this, that. Oh, no. Everything will be, you're coming to him, everything tends towards emptying yourself, losing yourself. You see, when he feels like winding up his own game in you, then this process begins. Then you come to him to lose yourself. Your assertions become shattered, weakened, you see, and you gradually then surrender and finish. You die, the real death. You're dying, you die real death, but it's not you who died. He sheds that game in you. That's all.
So,
Really speaking, and this is what he has given us to understand. But from our point of view, yeah, what you say is right, that this is how it is, the right moment for us to know. But there's no us there for us to know. It is he only that is there. So that's where we always fail, you see. And we think that we'll gain, we'll do something, we'll be all the more benefited by coming to him and all. Nothing. Nobody is benefited, nobody. All that is to be done is to empty ourselves, to lose yourself, and I am immanent there. What is needed is not to find me, not to gain me, not to find me. You can't find me. I cannot be found because I am not lost. What is needed is that you should lose yourself and I am found. I am there all the time. And he pointed out to us, you see, see this here, he used this wall from there, gesturing there. See, I am this, like infinite, take this to be my infinitude. And all the impressions of my wanting to know myself are here, you see, as my own, it's my blemishes on my own self. Here is Eruch, he will say. See how it is? This is a blemish of my impression there. So Eruch is here. And what happens is, gradually after experiencing these impressions get wiped off. And what remains? The blemish is wiped off. And what remains? Eruch realizes, no, it's there. It's blemish on me, my own blemish on myself. So what happens is that blemish is wiped off and I am as I am. So what this process in creation is, this wanting to know. The infinite knowledge wants to know through his infinite knowledge who he is. So that's where the whole thing started. In a stroke he came to know who he is.
It's really just Baba's game entirely, and I mean, let me ask you this. I mean, if we suppose I am removed eventually, is there anything, not I won't say anything like Jeff, but is there any individual, but doesn't Baba say there's this, your individuality, your infinite individuality is retained?
Yeah.
I mean, is that, I'm not going to just get...
What is
wiped
that
out
infinite
wholesale.
individuality? I am God. I am
But isn't
God.
it? But what? I mean.
But then
is your
what
experience of-
happens is I am in association with Jeff. So what I will say is that when Jeff uttered I am God, Jeff has realized. Jeff has realized. It is we, the falseness that has been shed, is taken cognizance of the false, by the false, and false, it is the falseness that utters the word that, well, Jeff has realized God. While Jeff sheds his falseness as Jeff, it is in the process of shedding itself. Says, I have shed my falseness and have become God. And that is the individuality there.
But is there
The
a-
individuality is expressed and exposed by those who are in contact. Jeff has realized God. But your experience will be, I am God.
But now, is my experience of I am God?
But you
the
won't
same
be
as
as
yours?
you will be as infinite. Jeff won't be there.
Jeff won't.
No.
I mean, what is it? We're going to a big hop or something like that. No, but I mean, like, okay, suppose right now you get realized and I get realized.
Yeah.
And the bodies are disappeared and everything like that. Now,
So Howard will be there, who knows us both. Howard will say
But-
that Eruch realized and Jeff realized. But what will be my experience? Means suppose if I were to come back and tell you as a perfect master, I'll say I'm God. You follow?
yeah, but no way. Suppose that we're in the beyond state. We're not down here. You and I are both in the beyond state. Is it? There's no such thing. There's just God. I mean, like, isn't there? Is it that say, suppose
There is a
I
thing.
am there
Yeah.
and you are there.
No, there's no such thing as I am there and you are there.
With the same one.
Really?
It's the same one. It's the same I.
Same eye. Because
Yeah.
I thought, here's what I thought. I thought you would have your eye, I have my eye, but now there's no separation.
No. Or separation only when the bubble is there. The same drop is there. In the ocean, take the figure that Baba has given us.
Well,
It is very easy for us to understand. Is there any drop there in the ocean? There is a drop. Only when it is segregated from the ocean. By a bubble or by some process, you see. Or you suck a drop out of it and say, this is the drop of the ocean. When it is separated, segregated. But when there is no separation, there is that union, then that I is just one infinite I.
My God, so it's really more, this is just totally effacement then. I mean,
Yeah, it's totally. Yeah, that is the
gee,
thing.
you're not going to even get to take anything across, not even your ID.
Not your idea. You want to be good all the time. So that's why Baba has said, again we come back to the same thing, you see. Don't hanker for realization. Don't drive yourself mad. Don't be so foolish to go for realizing yourself, you see. Means true self. What will you gain out of it? Nothing but what will happen at the time of realization. You will be what you already are. But this is the time when in this process of creation, for the whole creation is created for you to love. You will lose that chance. This is where he has given this thing, which is priceless, is the greatest blessing, you see, love. So don't waste your time in thinking about realization or wanting to realize or wanting to terminate your journey. You know what he has said to us? He has described one day about this love that explains the whole thing. But it's a long, drawn process. Have you all the patience to listen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what he had said was this simple thing he had said once, that one day in one of the mass darshans that he went out, and he simply said this much, just as usual at all our places he said, I have come in your midst as man amongst men, but I am the ancient one. I have come time and again in your midst to give you that same message. Love God, love me. I am God in human form. Love me. So one sharp person there put his hands up in that crowd, mind you. So that's why we are here to listen to that, what happened because of that one man. He says, but how to love you? How to love you? He says, well, when you fell in love with your wife, did you ask me how to love her? You never asked me. You fell in love, you loved, you began to love. Yeah, but I saw, the man says, but I saw her and fell in love with her. The same way that you see me and fall in love with me. But you won't be able to fall in love with me now, because you don't see me as I am. So how will you do that? Then he started this, the whole thing comes down, the discourse. He says in the world, men fall in love, the worldly love, when they see each other. And as soon as they see each other, then something clicks and you fall in love. And then when you fall in love, what happens is that you rave mad. You go on thinking about the person, you want that beloved to be yours, and you would want to please the beloved, and you would want to do anything and everything for that. You would like to rip off your skin and create shoes for the person, woman, or for the man, or do anything, you see. It goes on and on. What happens in the world? Baba again asks, you see the person.
We have to assert ourselves for an interruption.
Yeah.
A change of things.
Batteries.
Finish. Go on.
Finality, infinity.
That's all the Bible was hiding in those little tapes.
Yes.
Where was I?
Okay, so anyway, you're loving
He was doing
the beloved.
1001 things to please us.
Yeah.
What happened?
You know what these people take me to be a gadget. That, well, now it's a stop and now you start. You see, it's like that. But there is some other factor that is in it. And that is, I'm prompted, I'm in the midst of it and it's finished. It goes off, you see.
Okay.
All right, now we'll come down. We'll come down to the gadget level, you see. Okay, what was I saying? Yeah, then Baba says, do you know what it is like? The ways of the world is that you first see the person and then you fall in love. And when you fall in love, you begin to remember the person all the more till you possess the person. With spiritual love, you can't see me as the beloved as I am. For that, in the spiritual world, what you have to do is to first remember me, begin to remember me, and then you see me as I really am. There is a world of difference between two types of love. Worldly love, you first see the person, you fall in love and then remember. Here you first begin to remember me, and then you see me as I am, and then you fall in love with me. You follow now? Yeah, it is interesting. It's made interesting because the Lord Himself has given us this, because somebody put this question to Him. So then what happens is that the man, now Baba says to that man, he says, now, I'm not talking about your love affairs with your own beloved. Now I'm talking about your love affair with me now. So now what you have to do if you want to fall in love with me, first you begin with remembering me. And how will you first begin with it to remember me? Well, have little things that will remind you to remember me. What will remind you of remembering me? Begin with something, some photos of mine, some posters are there, something that is there. Set your clock at 12 o'clock midday or at 6 o'clock in the morning. Immediately you are reminded to remember me. So discipline your heart and mind to remember me that way. Well, put my pictures in your bedroom, dining room, toilet, bathroom, wherever it be possible, put it as many as possible so that you are reminded all the time of me. Go on being reminded of me and remember me that way. And sure enough, your mind will remember me time and again. Every time you sit at the dining table, you see, oh, Baba, you are reminded. You are taking a bath, you see in the shower, oh, Baba is there. Remember, because the reminder is there. 12 o'clock noon, little alarm goes, oh, it's 12, I must remember Baba, remember. Sleeping, last thing in the night, remember me and go to bed. First thing in the morning, remember me and begin your day's work. These are the reminders to remember me. But then what happens as you grow in my remembrance, you feel like having better scope for remembering him. You would want to enlarge your scope of remembering him. Your mind is apt to get, fed up with the monotony of remembering him through pictures and posters and all that sort of thing. So it will start exploring other means and ways of reminders to remember me. And that you strike is, what did Meher Baba say? What did he say? So I'll go and try to find out some books and all that. So go to the libraries or buy some books, read the things, find the ways, what I liked, what were my dislikes, what were my pleasures, what were my displeasures, and all that sort of thing will help you to remember me. They will serve you as the reminders to remember me. You have read all the literature that is available now. You really want to love me, so you must really remember me as I should be remembered. So that's how you explore, and you go through all the literature, all the words, all my ways and means, all my displeasures and pleasures through exploring through the literature. But then mind is not satisfied with that. It wants more. Mind's trait is that it cannot be satisfied with that which it has. It must have something more. So then what happens, it thinks of ways and means for more reminders, for something more tangible. And that it leads him to go out on travels and pilgrimages to where I have been. So he will go to many places, wherever my centers are, where I had stayed, where I had slept, where I had sat, and so forth and so on. You'll go out throughout the world, you see, because you want that love. Yeah, and I have told you to remember me. Remember me till you see me as I really am. So your heart is set on that, your mind is prompting you, so you go out on places of pilgrimage. When you are going out on places of pilgrimage, there you have been to the place now. Mind is satisfied with that, but mind is again dissatisfied with that. So you would like to contact people who had lived with him. So you'll come now, you'll try to search the people who were there and sit with them, talk with them, think about me. They will serve as the reminders to remember me, and so forth. When you have done with all these things, when you have explored all the venues that remind you to remember me, your mind will say, no, that is not the thing, you see. I must have something more tangible to remember him, you see. Something much more than this, all this mechanical way of remembering and all that. You know how, this is what he used to tell, he told that day. So then what you will do, you see, your mind, you have explored all the venues that are available to you. Now what to do? So you come back, you have known your way, you have known my ways through literature, what my dislikes are, what my likes are, what my tours were, where I had been. You have seen all the places. Then you are at one place, and then you begin again, continue to remember me. Of course, at that time, you see, you are not in the office now or anything. Now your heart is set on loving me, but you want to remember me first so that you can see me as I really am, and then you will have the love from me. So now what happens is that, you are at your place, you may call it, or some place where you have stabilized yourself. You don't want to go anywhere now. You would want to remember me as I should be remembered. Any glass of water that you drink, cool water. It's so cold, it's a hot day, and you're drinking the glass of cold water. It's so good. I was thirsty, and it felt nice. Baba must have felt the same way when he went out on tours on summertime. He must have also had a cool glass of water. You see, what I'm saying is that it links you with him all the time, with anything that you're doing. You are eating. Baba didn't like this sort of food. He liked plain dal and rice. Let us try that. How was the taste of it? So in food also, you explore him. You are reminded of him. So you remember him in that. Then what happens? You go on trying to sort out his likes and dislikes in your own way of life. Then Baba says, mind is again not satisfied with that. Mind then goes off exploring other vaster fields, you see, to remember me. Takes recourse to anything and everything around him to remember me. Because, he says, my creation, the purpose of my creation is to serve as a reminder to remember me. So you automatically take recourse to that. Then you think about your own self. You see, after having explored all other outside venues, says, you have hunger and you eat nice food. And while you are eating, says, my, what a sort of a creator he is, that he creates appetite so that I could eat. But he has not only given the appetite and given the food, but he has given me digestive power so I could digest also. And then when I evacuate in the morning, deposits, morning deposits, what a relief it is. See what a gadget he has created. So that way you remember him. When you drink water, the thirst is appeased. He has given me the thirst to relish his bounty of water. What a benevolent one he is. So gradually you are now beginning to glorify him without your knowing him. Knowing it, that you are in the process of remembering him, you have started glorifying him. You follow what I am saying? This is what he told them. Then what happens, as you progress further and further, then you begin to find yourself seated at one place, you see, and glorifying him. And sitting at one place, you begin to think of his greatness, you see. That wonderful thing that he has created, a gravitational force, that I could sit quietly and be here on terra firma, you see. Suppose if he had not created this force, gravitational force, what would have happened? Suppose if I had not the surface of the earth to sit and admire at his creation, where would I be to admire it? So, and then when I begin to admire now, my mind goes to admire, my mind goes to see the creations, I see the vegetation, I see the flowers. Oh, he has not given only the different colors, but he has given the shades of different red, different green shade. My, look at the meadow. Different greens are there, different shades are there. So you begin to remember me through the reminders that are there, and by this you are beginning to glorify me. A stage comes, to cut the whole thing short, a stage comes when you have no other words to glorify him enough. So you are just dazed and you don't know what to say. You are just dazed, that's all. And no word come out of your throat at that time. And then what happens? Then at that instant, which as you said, that there is a time that is said there, that instant comes down my gift of love. What is that gift of love? You see me as I really am. I don't give you a gift like this, you see. So what happens is at that time, when there is no word to be said, nothing, you can't even glorify him enough, then you see me as I really am. Then you begin to see. And when you see me as I really am, all else vanishes except myself, as I am. My effulgence is made visible to you, more realistic than what you see, this illusion, he said. Then, when you have seen me as I really am, now you fall in love with me. There's no way out. You are trapped now. You have seen me now. My beauty you have seen. And that is indescribable. That is experienced only by the one who experiences it. You can't describe it. So you begin to love him. So then Baba said to that man, now you will love me as I really am. Because I have given you the gift of love. And what is that gift? That you see me as I really am in my naked beauty. Then you love. You fall head over heels in love with me, just as you had fallen in love with that woman of yours. Now what happens is, there you started raving mad, you see, wanting to possess her, wanting to please her, wanting to give your life, 100 lives to her in order to please her and all that. Here, 1,000,000 lives would be futile for you. You see, you would want to, the more you love, you feel that you are not loving enough. So you would want to love more and more and you would want to possess, you want to become one with me, with your beloved. But in that process, you see, the more you try to want to become one with me, the more you love me. And time comes when you lose the aspect of wanting to merge in me, wanting to possess me, but you derive the charm of loving then. Baba used the word, the charm of loving. You get the taste of the charm of loving me. So then you begin to love me more and more and yet more, and there's no end to it. You would want to love me still more and more and more. And then an accident one day takes place. a horrible thing happens. What has happened is, you were, as a lover, were loving me as the beloved. But the accident is that seeing your love, the beloved falls in love with his lover and becomes the lover. And the lover is raised to the pedestal of the beloved, and that is called the realization. It is the ascension, real ascension.
So
Yeah.
probably when you're in that experience, you don't
Huh?
probably when you're in that experience of loving Bob at that depth.
So it took many years for me to reconcile the fact. My mind was the one that always obstructed. And it's always with our minds. It's nothing but a picture I'm giving of you all. It's the same thing. Our minds always react. Mind is such a mind. There's no end to it, It always, as soon as the mind begins to believe, it steps into disbelief.
Who is it that believes? The mind? It is not the mind that believes.
It is the mind that believes. It's the mind that disbelieves. We are nothing but puppets of the mind. It's because of the mind we are. Otherwise there is no existence for us. Then who are we, Baba would say, you see. We are nothing but his own blemish.